Hey guys, Dave Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor, where I help agents like you succeed in the final expense and insurance business. And in today's video, I am putting out a 4-part series on an old recording interview that Ben Feldman did, where he talks about his motivation, his goal-setting strategies, as well as his process of prospecting. If you've never heard anything from Ben Feldman and you're in the insurance sales business, or even if you just sell anything in general, this is an excellent training. Make sure you stick around for that. Of course, if you're a Ben Feldman fan, I think you'll enjoy this because this is a rare tape that not many have ever actually listened to. So I hope you enjoy.
On this cassette, you'll hear America's #1 insurance salesman, Ben Feldman, agent for New York Life Insurance Company for 3 decades. With the exception of his first 3 years with New York Life, Mr. Feldman has been a continuing member of the $1 Million Round Table. His record of sales includes $10 million in one single sale, $56 million in a single year, and in a single career with one company, he's produced more than $400 million individual life coverage. Ben's home is East Liverpool, Ohio, population 22,000. And most of his business comes from an area within 40 miles of his home. He's become the pace setter of life insurance selling. He's become a legend in his own time. Proving that America is still a land of opportunity, he began as a farm boy and has made his millions on his own merits through becoming a top insurance salesman. Ben says only a fool learns from his own experiences. The wise man learns from the experiences of others. He's here with you now to share his famous Feldman method. You're invited to stay tuned in to the wisdom of America's #1 insurance salesman, Ben Feldman. Hello, Ben. I'd like to welcome you to the Farnsworth series of great sales ideas. When a man has been as successful as you have in the competitive field of life insurance selling, there must be some formula that propels you. What inspires you to success?
What is success? But actually, what makes a man run? I feel I'm doing a lot of good for a lot of people. This to me is very real. And when you've been at this long enough to see the other end, see, people do die. And when they do, the promise comes true that we promise to pay, and we do. So I feel I'm doing a lot of good for a lot of people. Yes, I'm making money, but I'm also doing something that helps, let's say, the widow keep self-respect, helps the company keep going. The man went down and borrowed money because his company was growing. He plowed it back in and he locked it up. And he also promised the banker he'd pay it back. And I'll help him keep the promise that he made to pay it back without liquidating the company. These are the things that make me run.
So actually, money is not your total motivator, but it's helping others.
Money? In the beginning, when you were hungry, you ran for money.
Sure.
But after a while, I'm only wearing one pair of shoes. I could afford more than one. And I'm only wearing one suit, and I could afford more than one. So it isn't money alone that makes you run. There had better be something good for you, for you. This, to me, is what makes it good for me.
So actually, there's more than money, but it's the helping of humanity and the other people.
I feel that I help people help themselves.
Great. It's a beautiful philosophy. Very good. Well, to accomplish this, you are in the business of selling, and primarily that of insurance. In the total picture of selling, though, what value do you place on the planning stage?
Oh, the planning is so terribly important. You need a track to run on. You've got to know where you're going and why. Getting ready to get ready. You get a name. A name doesn't mean anything. You can pick up a telephone book and it's full of names, but they don't mean anything. So you find a man that has a problem, and you find the problem, and you find that you have a solution to his problem. Realistic, makes sense, logical, can be done. Price tag on doing it, price tag is greater for not doing it, for doing nothing. This is what makes you strong. This is why you call on the man. And this is why he'll listen and he'll do what you're suggesting he do.
Mm-hmm. Well, then your planning stage is important. And what you're saying is then that you have to find, you have to have goals that you're working toward. I mean, like the problem becomes a goal in a sense.
You have to know where you're going and why. Beyond that, you know, what makes Sammy run? I want a goal, let's say it's big enough to excite me. Say, big enough to make me run. Say, big enough that it takes a lot of effort. Big enough that if I do it, gee, it was worthwhile too, because I got it done, and it was bigger than anything I'd done before. You got to have a goal. You have to know where you're going and why. Big goal, not a little goal, a difficult goal, something you haven't been able to do.
It's a challenge then.
Right.
It's a real challenge.
And it really, really is. But something big enough is exciting, and this in itself tends to make you run. And if you get it done, you get a big thrill out of getting to D-Day, and you got it done. That's tremendous.
Now, when you say D-Day, I get the idea that you're setting a time limit then on these goals, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's not just that you want this 10 years from now, but you want something, your goal is like this year.
I'll take the year, and I'll say, for example, well, I'd like to have $100 million for the year 1972. Well, that's too much. That's frightening, but there's 12 months in the year. So I'll break it down, divide by 12. Now that's still $8 million a month, and that's still big. So you can stub your toe on that, but there's 4 weeks in a month. Now I'll break that down. Now it's just $2 million a week. And I hope that doesn't sound wrong to you. See, it depends on how big you're thinking or how small you're thinking. Now, I always write 2-3 cases a week. So I'll take my $2 million and break it on down into 3 applications. And my 3 applications may run $500 each, $800 each. Coming up this morning, I bumped into a policyholder, and I sold an idea. And the price tag on the idea is $4 million. And it isn't that it's so big, it's just something that was simple, logical. He could see it, and he said, all right. He said, I can get the exam sometime within the next 30 days. Well, that's consent. And that's all to be taught. I'll follow it through. It could have been $4 million, it could have been $400,000, it could have been $40,000. This depends on the agent. Mm-hmm. And what he wants to do, and how he's thinking, and how he's prepared himself, and whether he knows that not 2 and 2 make 4, but there is a tax on the man's right to make money. Income tax is also a tax on your right to keep the money. That's a state tax. And I want 1/3 of everything you have. Can you give me that much now? Nobody can. And that's what I do. I sell money. The day you walk out, the money walks in. This man has a big problem. And that's the reason it'll be a big case. And it's that simple, really.
But when you say it's that simple, yes, it is. But where do you find these prospects? In other words, what I'm asking is, how do you prospect?
How do you prospect? You prospect with ideas. With ideas. In this particular case, he was not a stranger. I already had and have several $1 million on this life. But this young man is growing, getting bigger, and he's plowing back in. And look 10 years down the road. If he'll keep doing what he's doing, he will have doubled. And if he has $1, 10 years from now, he'll have $2. Mm-hmm. The tax on $2 is more than the tax on $1. And I'd better underwrite a little bit of tomorrow, today. Tomorrow, he gets older. He also falls apart. He may be uninsurable. Even if he is insurable, rates didn't go down. Rates went up. So let's do it now. Let's do it now. If he doesn't have the money, that's always a problem. It's a wonderful idea. It's wonderful. How do I pay for it? Make it possible. Find a way for him to pay for it. Let's say you're talking about $1 million. And let's say you need $30,000 for the premium. Where is he going to find $30,000? I don't care how much more money he makes personally, he pays income tax. To get $30,000 more to give me for this policy, he may have to earn 60 more. He may have to earn 90 more. See, it doesn't make sense, does it? It's out of balance. Mm-hmm. But you see, maybe you can have a corporation do it. Or maybe you can have more than one corporation do it. And if none of that's workable, then reduce the premium. He doesn't have to give me $30,000. I'll set it up on a 5-year term plan. And now instead of 30, I need 10. Maybe I need 8. And now I break that down so it's only $600-700 a month. And now it isn't that much money. You know, the float in most corporations, if it ever gets down to where $600-700 a month makes a difference, they're in bad shape. So really, you see, you can make it work out, make it realistic, make it feasible, bring it down to where it can be done.
What you're doing again, Ben, is the same thing you were saying about your goals. Break them down so that they seem simple and easy and attainable.
Right, and they are simple. They are easy and they are attainable. It just depends on whether you really want to do it and whether you make it easy for yourself to do it. Break it down into little pieces. I can't write 2 million or 20 million, but I can write maybe 2 cases, and each one will be $1 million.
So you're talking about thinking big along with this then, too. You break it down into small pieces, but after you've thought big.
And underwrite a little bit of tomorrow. Underwrite a little bit of tomorrow.
Well, if your goal is 3 applications a week, how many calls do you have to make in a day to accomplish this?
Possibly 4, possibly 5. You know, you're pretty well pinned down your cases so that you know where you're going and why, and what you're going to talk about. If it were the XYZ company, I'm going down the road, the XYZ company, I'd get it down in Bradstreet on the XYZ company. I'd like to know who it is, how big they are, how much they own, how much they owe. Do I know any people in the company? So many, many things. And then I'll come to John Smith, whom I have insured, and he's in the same type of work. And either he will give me a lot of information because he wants to, or he'll, for whatever the reason, I'll do a lot of digging and I'll get a lot of information on the man, and when I finally get to where I'm making the call, usually it's just conservation. It's just a bundle of money that will come walking in the day the man walks out. Why? Because he owes some money. Why? Because, let's say, the company's worth a lot of money and Uncle Sam will take part of it for any number of reasons.
So you're really helping him when you prospect this way for him.
If I didn't think I was doing something for him, I don't think it would work for me either.
You have to use referrals. I mean, someplace along here you mentioned this sort of in what you just said. Where do you go for your referrals?
Well, over the years I've developed a list of names, and they pretty much cover cross-section of America. I don't mean geographically, but I've got lawyers, and I've got auditors, and I've got people in real estate, and I've got this, and I've got that, and I've got something else. If I wanted to find out something about you, I would go to someone in the same field, and he'd tell me something about you, so that I have areas in which I prospect, so that digging up more names really, at this stage, isn't my problem. Trying to take care of what I've got is my problem.
That's the giant chore. For the new man who's starting out, though, or for the man who's been in business, well, let's say more than the first year, and he's run through the friends list and so forth, have you any suggestions where they can prospect?
I, for one, would work in the business area, small business market, where the man is growing, where the man's making money, where the man's plowing it back. I don't mean the big chains. I mean local business. And get acquainted with a man like that and show him that you have a package policy designed to do something special. What does he need done? Salary continuation. Family has to go on living. He's drawing out $1,000 a month. Here's a contract designed to continue that for a period of so many years. Possibly has a line of credit with the bank. Let me show you how we can insure your credit line. Keep the promise you made to the bank when you went down and said, please loan me some money. And he said, do you intend to pay it back? And you promised to pay it back, and you wrote your name on the line. And maybe he even asked that you got your wife's name on the line. And you know, when he did that, he made darn sure that you were going to pay it back. Something happens to you, he's going to move in and take everything you own until he does get paid back. Many things of that sort. And so I would work in my own area, in my own neighborhood, with package policy that gives them a name. And I'd say, may I show you something? And I'd just walk in the way any salesman walks in, and may I show you something? This is a salary continuation plan. And here's an educational fund for your little boy. You want your little boy to go to school? School costs money. Build it now. You've got 10 years to accumulate it. And if you don't, we'll complete it for you. And if you don't do it, maybe you won't get it done. Then how will he go to school? Simple little ideas. But see, after a while, you have a lot of policy holders, and as they grow, you grow, because you keep coming back. I walked in the other day to see someone, and I could see he didn't want to talk with me, and he was a little bit embarrassed that I bumped into him the way I did. I'm walking into the building, and he starts walking out, and I have the man insured for $200,000. And I said, Bob, wait a minute. I'd like to talk to you about the $200,000 we owe you. So I got his attention, and he stopped. And yesterday I wrote him $1 million. Very simple, isn't it? But that is the way. That is the way. You could go back to every policyholder you have on the books once a year when he's moving one age bracket into the next, and just say, let's just, maybe not revise, let's just review what we did. The children are a year older, you're a year older. Let's take a look at the program now and see whether or not we should be doing something. And the odds are you'll write another policy. And you know, if you keep writing just 2 cases a week, and a year goes by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, 4 years go by, pretty soon you've got 300, 400, 500 policyholders on the books. And just that itself will keep a man busy. And if he's busy, he's growing. If he's growing, he's making money. If he's making money, he's happy. And if he'll build his own program on it a little bit periodically, so he kind of grows.
This is his personal insurance program.
See, if I had 10,000 on me and you had 100 on you, I can't sell you anything more. You're bigger than me. Wait till I get 200 on me, and I know you got 100. I feel sorry for you. It's no longer a lot. You're bigger than that, and you need more. And these statements are very simple, but they're for real, and they will work. And if the man's been in the business 4 or 5 years, but just once a year go back and see his old policyholders. And if nothing more, you know what would happen if he didn't write them something? He will write them something. But if he doesn't do anything more, they'll give him the name of someone else. You want a prospect? You'll get another prospect.
So you're saying to service the calls that are on your books, to...
That's the basis of everything.
But sometimes overlooked in our haste to find new prospects, perhaps.
But that's the basis for everything. See, at this stage, we have so much service that we just can't take care of it. I just can't. I never get out of my office anymore. I'd like to get in and get out by 10 o'clock. Now I get in, and you can't get out. And you have an obligation to policyholders. You know, you got to a point where you're looking for policyholders, they're looking for you.
That's an enviable position for most to be in, though, I think. That's
well,
great.
You have an obligation to your people. You owe them something.
Yes, to service their accounts.
You owe them something.
Well, I noticed as you were talking about these people with whom you would be prospecting and with whom you would be working, that you had a technique that seems to run through all of it, and that's questioning, asking them various things and getting them involved this way. So you put a great emphasis on questioning and getting your people involved. Conversation.
See, conversation, frankly, is a series of questions. And I can retain it long enough to get out to the car, and there I record it.
I see.
I have cassette equipment built into the car. And I'll record, and I'm recording all day long. And then each evening I'll listen. And each morning I have one secretary with whom I make notes. And that's the beginning of a file. And maybe we'll get a D&B to go with it. And you ask questions as you're sitting and talking with people. For example, father's son. Father started a company, and he's getting a little older, and the son's gradually taking over. And the son has some children. And maybe the father maybe he is making some gifts to his grandchildren. And you sort of get an idea of what the father is very interested in the grandchildren. Well, we've got a short-term trust arrangement that Uncle Sam will subsidize, where through income tax savings we'll pay for half the education for your little boy. Let me show it to you. And you'll come back, you're in the middle of a presentation, you'll come back and you'll show something very simple, very real. So there are many, many ways of finding a method of making a sale that does a lot of good for the people to whom you're making the sale.
They have a need, and you're simply filling this need. First is encovering
I sell money. I sell money. And what will you substitute?
I can't think of anything when one needs money that will
No.
substitute
You have
for
a
it.
loan at the bank, it better get paid off. You have a mortgage on the home, it better get paid off. You do want your family to go on living, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Without money?
It's very difficult.
So, see, there are no substitutes for money.
Mm-hmm.
In a man's life, what's it worth? Whatever you think it's worth. I'd like to hire you. Work for me. For the rest of your life, for what you said it was worth. How much did you say it was worth, or how much did you insure it for? Well, I'll put that much money in escrow right now if you work for me for the rest of your life. And I haven't even asked you how much, but whatever you said it was worth. Now, you work for me the rest of your life, the first thing I'll do is insure you for much more than you're insured now, and you'll pay the premium. See, there are many ways of disturbing people. This is one. I never found a man who was insured properly. Maybe all that he could pay for, but you know, your tomorrows, what are they worth? Tell me how much your tomorrows are worth. How much are they worth? How much would you trade them for? How much will they earn? How many people are depending on you? And what would happen with them without you? Oh, they'll go on living. You can live with, you can live without. See, this to me is very real. It isn't that I'm beating down the door because I want to make $10 on this sale. After a while, you get beyond that to where it's something for them. Sure, it makes money for me. Sure, I've got a quota. Sure, I've got a goal. I have to have these things to keep myself going. But actually, see, life insurance couldn't have been here for 200 years unless it was basically sound. It had to be, and it is. It really is. So, glad I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, basic to all of this is that you're finding people who have problems. But do you ever reach a point in all of this experience you have and the success you've had where you don't have to prospect and where you don't have to make calls?
Never. If you stop, everything stops. Nothing for nothing. You can't stop. You have to keep working at it. It would be simple just to say, well, so I'm going to quit. But if you quit, you fall apart. You just can't stop, just can't stand still. If I wanted to stop doing this, I better get involved in something else and begin doing that. I don't think a man can stand still. I feel that I want to do whatever I'm going to do the best way I can. You do it the best you know how. I don't want to be good in everything, but just let me have my own little place in my own backyard. I think I understand a little bit about the kind of work I do and how it fits and why it fits. And this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to build foundations for people. You know, you take a young man that's 10 years old, and you take $1,000 a year, and you can set up a $100,000 policy. And if you pay a net premium on that as the years go by, the premium will keep going down and down and down and down and down. Now look 20 years down the road, it's no longer $1,000. Now it's down to possibly $400. maybe even less than that. So you make it possible for him to have something big and beautiful at a premium that's so much less. So he's not capable of paying premiums until, let's say, he's 25, 28, 30. He has no earning capacity. But if you can give him the benefit of age 10, talk about making a gift from father to son, or from grandfather to grandson. In the month of December, we paid for $30 million last December. It was my 30th year. I was finishing my 30th year, so I thought $30 million would be a good goal for the month. So we did. But you know why? That was a lot of volume. I got in touch with a lot of wealthy grandparents who were uninsurable, but they had grandchildren. What's more beautiful? We wrote blocks, $200,000 blocks. Only $2,000 a year. Didn't amount to much in the way of premiums. But what a beautiful gesture. And that qualified, so there was no gift tax. So you're permitted to make a gift of $3,000. This was only $2,000. Didn't even have to file a tax return. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And not only that, but we took $2,000 out of Grandpa's estate where it would have shrunk to maybe $1. Give it to your grandson now, and it's $2, not $1. You're going to leave part of your estate for him anyway. Why not do it this way? What a wonderful feeling you get of doing it now, giving it to him now. And as the years go by, the old saying, gone but not forgotten, gone, not forgotten. See, when he grows up to where he can really appreciate what you did for him, here's a policy Grandpa gave me when I was 8 years old. And now that I'm 28, it's no longer $2,000. Now it's maybe $800 or $1,200 or $900 or something. I can handle it. And look what I've got. Try and buy a $200,000 policy when you're 30 years old. You know what the premium is? It's $4,000 a year. How many young men do you know who can put $4,000, take $4,000 out of income, put in the policy?
This is the end of side 1. Please use your fast forward to run out any remaining blank tape. Turn to side 2. Your cassette will then be in proper position to play the continuation of this discussion.